Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and hey, welcome to My Hero Academia, chapter 197, my impressions for this chapter. We've finally finished the Shinso stuff, and now we can look forward to the future. What's gonna happen? Well, I don't know. The theme for the recent videos has been, well, are we gonna get a proper display of the class? Are we gonna get to see everyone doing their thing? And with this chapter, some things have kind of popped up that I think indicate that the rest of the characters are gonna get shafted a little bit compared to the first group, and we're probably gonna end up super focusing on Shinso in terms of what cool stuff is coming out of this. With this chapter, some stuff, well, I don't feel as confident trying to figure out what's going on in the future, just because we've kind of focused on Shinso in such a weird way that it seems more that this is going to focus on character development instead of showcase. So next chapter will be the one that ultimately decides, are the characters going to be getting more attention or are they not? Anyway, with this chapter, there's a few cool things here, right? We have Shinso's exposition happening. We have his abilities being a little bit more fleshed out. We saw the Aizawa thing, which we could have seen coming. We got one thing that I think is an interesting little flaw, and I think it might be a mistake on the author's part, or not a mistake. I think there was one thing in this chapter that revealed that things might not have been planned out well enough, or something might have slipped by when they were initially planning out the chapters. And and the way you can tell that it happened is based on the the unequal attention or the unequal treatment that some characters got. So we'll talk about that because I think it's really interesting. And then another thing that this chapter does is that it showcases people who have experience are generally better, and you have that being one of the big points with Shinso pointing it out. Although among Kaminari and Tsuyu I do think comes out looking way better in this chapter, just because she was super impressive in this chapter. She got a lot of accolades in this chapter. Actually, in terms of the battle portion was pretty awesome all around. Really great chapter. Great way to finish it off in terms of these 3 chapters of the Tsuyu team versus the Class 1B team. I really loved it. In terms of, just general reader satisfaction, I think these last 3 chapters have been pretty great. It's been good. Awesome. Alright, so let's talk about the more in-depth stuff. We'll start with Shinso because this is kind of what might influence the future chapters. He ends off this thing saying one pretty critical line, that being, I need to become a pro with my abilities alone. And you look at that line, and in that final page you also see that Tsuyu is kind of looking at Shinso as well, with her wondering face. So the thing here is that this is a bit of a complex issue, because we know right now that Hero Society is kind of working on heroes as teams. You look at his statement and you think back to situations where the kids have to have worked together. They had to work together when they were doing the exam and all that. You look at that and then you look at this line and it's like, well, this doesn't really feel like it jives there. But then you could argue, well, no, Shinso needs to be able to stand up by himself in the same way that Aizawa is able to stand up by himself. And then the more he can stand up by himself, the better he can work in a group. But right now, we're in a situation where Shinso might kind of fall into the trapping of trying to do everything by himself. That could be a very possible kind of avenue that we explore with his character, that he has to learn that not only does he have to be good on his own, he has to be good with other people. That said, when you look at the chapter itself, he cooperates with people really well, but you might say that's just because he knows he's inexperienced and he's trying to catch up as fast as he can. That said, this whole loner type mentality is not a good mentality for the current generation. But again, heroes like Aizawa prove that it can work. So the thing here is going to be whether or not this is enough of a kind of hook for Tsuyu to come in and talk with Shinso. That's so far what I'm seeing here. There's a good potential though that Shinso's character development or character exposition is going to continue into Shinso versus Izuku's team later on. Because right now, the setup with Shinso being at the beginning, at the end of this little confrontation that we're having here, it's really making it seem like we're gonna get the answers to this mentality that Shinso's creating in this chapter at the end with Izuku. And we still need to see how Izuku's stuff is gonna kind of interact with Shinso again. I'm really interested, but with like the end of this, it is shifting the focus more towards Shinzo than it is a 1A versus 1B type thing, and that does kind of make me a little bit sadder, just because I wanted to see more. Now, to talk about the potential kind of flaw that I saw earlier in this chapter, it all revolves around the kids getting their hero names, specifically Class 1B. It's just very odd, and I guess I can show pictures now, but when you go back to those pages where they started introducing their names, things just... how quickly it happened just kind of makes it suspect, right? Think about it. All of a sudden, they started referring to themselves with their hero names. All of a sudden, they started correcting what they were supposed to be called. And the bigger note is that they only did it for 3 of the 4 teams because one of the members was already taken away. What I think ultimately happened here was that the names were an afterthought. Like, you know, when they were initially planning out these chapters, writing out the names for the chapters and all that, they were going along, and then after the first 2 chapters have been done, they only realized, whoever it was, the author or the editor only realized, hey, we should probably throw in the hero names here. I think that's what happened. I think the hero names for Class 1B came out as an afterthought as they were going around, because again, you have to look at the inconsistency here. One of the members did not get his name revealed, and it was just kind of shoehorned in there. Like the rest of the chapter, whether or not they used the names was just kind of spur of the moment type things. Sometimes they use the name, sometimes they don't use the title. It's just, it felt really clumsy when it came to the name stuff. But that kind of lack of equality in terms of, I guess, using the names and just making sure that everyone in this one team had their hero name revealed, that kind of just inconsistency does make me a little bit more fearful in that ultimately Class 1B doesn't matter. And if Class 1B doesn't matter, it just means that maybe the next couple of chapters will be shortened way more than this one was, because this is turning more into, this is the Shinzo exposition as opposed to Class 1B's exposition. But we'll have to see. It really depends on the next couple of chapters. The worst case scenario is still that we just kind of zoom past the next couple of confrontations and just jump to Izuku in the next chapter. That's pretty much the worst case scenario here. If that happens, well, like, what can you say, right? Anyway, other things to point out for the chapter, I'm not too sure. It's cool that Shinzo knows how to use Aizawa's cloth wraps. It's cool that Tsuyu had an amazing drop kick. It's cool that they won. It's pretty exciting, but I don't think there's much else that I have to add for this chapter. It's pretty much just the kids did well, and it's cool to see that. Oh, and there was also the gag of the Beast guy being called Revelation instead of his actual hero name. That was also pretty funny. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought of this chapter down below, and let's call it there. Till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.